Hey guys, today I am going to be working on this little Hinoki Cypress bonsai. I wanted to maybe get it into a new pot and look at some of the roots. I'm also going to have to look at a lot of those died back branches along the trunk and some of the longer dead branches at the bottom of the trunk and some that are actually up in the canopy as well. So you can see some of these little nubs that actually died along the branch. These are from old branches that have died back, and I'll be able to take a lot of those off today. I'm lucky that they died back over time because I would never be able to do this amount of branch pruning at once, especially on something like an evergreen. So I'm going to start by taking off all the nubs along the trunk just so you can see it a little bit better. Sometimes having dead branches is a good feature, but this is just way too much and they're way too small and they'll probably fall off over time. So I'm going to go ahead and clean these all up. So now that I have the nubs off of the trunk, I can go ahead and get some of these branches that are a little bit higher. They're dead right now, but they still need to come off. They're the only real branches that I'm taking off of the canopy. I'm going to leave the rest of the growth up there so it has some foliage to keep growing. So now that we have the trunk worked on, we're going to go ahead and try and get this tree out and look at some of the roots. There's nothing too big in them. You can see a lot of fine roots growing around this pot. It was just a nursery plant, so you can see they're all just wrapping around the pot, and I'm definitely going to have to go in and try and fix that a little bit. So now it's going to be time to go in and go ahead and rake the roots out. I use just a small fork. It works pretty well. I'm just going to go all around, trying to be nice and careful not to rip too many roots and clean up this root mass. I'm going to try and get most of this nursery soil out and put in a really good bonsai soil. So I'm still going around the roots. You can see there's a lot of fine roots in here that will be really good for feeder roots. Luckily, I haven't run into too many thick roots yet, which just helps out a repotting overall. There's a couple long ones that I'm definitely going to have to trim, but they're still not too big and they don't have too many feeder roots on them, so I'm not worried about pruning some of those back a little bit. So I have the roots pretty cleaned up. I'm just going to get some of the bottom soil out a little bit more. The next step, I'm going to go ahead, take it outside, give it a good rinse with the hose, and then I'll be able to see the roots just a little bit better. So now that the roots are rinsed off a little bit, you can see them a lot better. A lot of nice red looking roots, which is always good for an evergreen tree. There's some bigger roots in there that I'll have to trim back just a little bit, but I'm going to be fitting it in this semi-small bonsai pot. So I'm going to go ahead and place it in there and see how they fit. You can see that, a lot of roots are going to have to get pruned, especially some of those fine roots and longer roots along the side. Now I'm just going to go ahead and look through the root mass and try and sort out some of these bigger roots. I'm going to start with those, get rid of any that are growing way too far down. This big one that I'm clipping now is just going too straight down into the pot. I don't want anything that's going to become a big massive root in there. Untangle that. You can see it's a good chunk of root. I also have some roots that are going down on the other side. You can see it a little bit bigger. I'm going to go ahead and clip that out as well. And just like that, I'll get that bigger root out of there. Now along the other side, I also have this really big root that's kind of wrapping back around itself. I want to shorten that up as well. I'm not taking the whole root off, just enough where hopefully some new feeder roots will start to grow off of it. I also have a lot of these long feeder roots that I'm going to trim back as well. This bigger one, although it's a little bit thicker, I think I can place it and not have to cut it off. So just going in and cutting back these nice fine roots right now. And I think that will be just about it for the root pruning itself. Next we'll go ahead and get it into the pot. Okay, so first I'm going to just add my drainage screens. It's a little bit of window screen. Works pretty well, drains nice and even. Get 2 of those placed in and right over the drainage holes. So now I'm just going to add a little bit of soil at the base of the pot. I use a nice well-draining soil. If you want to see that, I'll make a video of it and add it shortly, or if it's already up, I'll have it in the description below. So with the soil added, I'm going to go ahead and place my tree in. You can see I've got a good amount of roots showing, and I didn't have to cut too much off. So I'm going to go ahead and place it right in the center of the pot, maybe off to the left just a little bit, and begin to rake my roots out in a little bit more of a radial position just to get them in place so they're nice and healthy for the future. I don't want to just put them in there and let them knot up on themselves. Now you can see as we come to the back of the tree, there's not a lot of roots there, but there are some small, fine feeder roots there that I'll at least rake out, and hopefully those will fill up a little bit more in the future. They're not as strong as the front, but I hope that over time I can get some more roots in the back as well. So now that I have the roots positioned the way I like, I'm going to go ahead and start adding some bonsai soil all around the root base, trying to fill it in as much as possible. I want to now start working the soil into the roots a little bit more. I've got a fork and a little dentist tool that I like to poke at the roots and try and get them in between all the roots. I don't want any air pockets, so I'll just start to work it gently into the root base. I'll go all around and make it nice and even throughout the whole pot. After packing down the soil, I'll have to add a little bit more and then go ahead and work that into the root base as well. This tends to take a little bit of time, but it's definitely necessary. You don't want any air pockets around your roots, allowing them to dry out. You want nice soil contact throughout the whole plant. So now with the soil all packed in, I'll give it a little bit of a spin. There's not too many big roots showing, no nubari on this tree yet, but I wanted to bury all the roots just so they have some time to establish and thicken up over time. So now with the tree finished, I'll give it one last spin. It still has a lot of training to do, but for now, these are some good first steps. Coming around, I haven't really picked a front of the tree yet. There's not too much nubari showing. The trunk's kind of even all around, but I think it's definitely a good future bonsai. So until next time, happy planting!